Welcome class to Chapter 8, Using Styles and Style Sheets for Design. Chapter 8 has 4 lessons or 4 objectives. So this video will cover our first lesson, which is create and use embedded styles. So what is an embedded style? An embedded style sometimes is referred to as a page style. And the reason is that it only styles that individual page. It uses a style tag in the head section, and all of the rules will be defined within that style tag. If both an external style, so external style sheet, like your .css files, and an embedded style are applied to a single element, for example, h1 tag, the embedded style overrides the external style. The inline style is a third way that we can apply a CSS rule. It is part of the individual page code. It is written in the body section rather than in the head section, and it refers to a specific instance of a tag. It can only be used once on a page. And I will practice all 3 of these so that you understand the difference between the external style, the embedded style, and the inline style. You create embedded styles using CSS Designer, just like you created your styles for the external style sheet using the CSS Designers panel. So the difference is that we don't click on create a new CSS file or attach an existing CSS file. We're going to click on define in page. And then what you're going to see is a style tag over here, and then you'll be able to go ahead and choose what you want for your selector. One of the most important tools introduced in Dreamweaver Creative Cloud is Live View Property Inspector. Now you may have stumbled upon the Live View Property Inspector when you were in Live View. It's simply a mini toolbar that appears above any selected page elements while you're in Live View. This toolbar shows the tag name and the selector used to format the selected text. And you can use the Live View Property Inspector to add or perhaps modify your formatting for that individual page element. So it can save you time as you format your pages. So here is an example of the contact information at the bottom of our home page in Striped Umbrella. And so we're going to practice this. We're actually going to remove our HTML formatting first, and then we'll go ahead and apply this new class called contact_info. But before we do that, let's look at table 8-5, which is the summary of the style types. So this is going to come back to the external, the embedded, and the inline styles. So what is an external style and what does it format? And then we'll go across these columns. So it's multiple pages that it formats. It's stored in the separate file with the .css file extension. How do we create it in the CSS Designer Sources pane? We click on that create a new CSS file or attach existing CSS file. We apply via our property inspector, either through HTML or through CSS. And so if we're on the HTML property inspector, it's through the class list. If we're in the CSS property inspector, it's through our targeted rule list. And what is it used for? It's used for global formatting. It's used to format multiple pages, multiple elements on multiple pages. Embedded style is elements on one page. Okay, sometimes we call these page styles. And we define it in the head section. And how do we do it? Via the CSS Designer Sources pane. We click on the sources area and we click on define in page. We apply it the same way as we do external. And just a note again that if we have conflicting styles between an external rule and an embedded rule, this one's going to override. Inline style is a specific instance of a tag. It's in the page body section code. We type it in the body section and it is applied after you add it in code view. Okay, So once per page and refers to a specific instance of a tag. Now let's look at the summary of selector types for Table 2. So what's the difference between a class, an ID, tag, and compound? So class can be applied to any element, okay, and it can be applied multiple times. It can be defined in external, embedded, or inline. Selector type is class. So select this in the new CSS rule dialog box. Okay, apply using the two options in the property inspector. And encode begins with a period. Okay, it's the most versatile type and it can be used multiple times. ID formats only one element. The external style sheet file, embedded or inline. The selector type is ID in the new CSS rule dialog box. HTML property inspector, we're going to get it through the ID list. Encode begins with a hashtag, okay, and used once per page. It's used for our div tags. Okay, tag redefines any HTML element. Again, the three options for defining or storing in. Selector type is tag. It's automatically applied when the tag is used on the page. The rule name is the tag name. And then compound formats a selection. So this might be something where it says article P, article space P. That's compound, meaning we have a more than one type of HTML tag to select. Okay, so the question was asked to me, when do you use classes, when do you use IDs, and when do you use tags, or when do you use compound? So here's how it goes. If you can format and target your content with a tag or a compound selection, that's where you want to define your style. If you need to, like with div tags, create IDs to format them, because when we have div tags, we use them multiple times and they're for multiple boxes or different elements on our page. So then we would have it only format one. So div ID equal menu. Div ID equal footer. Those are just some examples with div. And then classes just is the same as IDs. If we can't target it through the HTML tag, then we're going to go to a class. But the difference between the class and the ID is that the class can be applied multiple times. So we're going to create a class today, and we're going to apply it multiple times across multiple pages. Okay, so let's see what we have left here. We have nothing. So let's go ahead and practice pages 8, 8, and 8, 9. So let me go ahead and get to those pages. So here we're going to create a new embedded style. So we're going to be clicking on the plus symbol and then choosing define in page. We are going to create a class called contact_info. And it's going to have 3 styles. And we're going to apply it to the address information on all of the pages. Okay, so first what we have to do is we have to remove the current formatting. This is so key. I need you to remove the current formatting before you actually apply this class. Okay, so let's go ahead and into our index page, and we are going to select this information. Okay, notice right now this is in live view. So I already talked about that live view property inspector. So you can practice using the live view property inspector. If you don't feel comfortable with it, you can go ahead and go to design view, and you can do the same process. So this would be then go to window and then to properties inspector. And what you're going to do is you're going to remove the italicizing first. So we want to strip the formatting away and get just to the structure. So structure being that it's just a paragraph and it has no formatting applied to it. So you can go ahead and click on the I tag and notice in the split view here in the code view that the I is removed. And you can see the formatting is removed here. Okay, I'm going to undo that change, and I'm going to go back to live view. Okay, and I'm going to select my content, Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just click on this I button. So it says remove I tag. Okay, so it does the same process. So you can use either live view or design view. It's totally your preference. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to create the class. So we're going to define in page, and then we're going to create the class contact_info. Now it's no different creating this than when we did it through global and we applied it through the style sheet. So notice now that we have a style tag. Okay, so I'm going to click on style and I'm going to click on contact info, and now I'm going to start defining my styles. And my styles are a color, so I'll go to text. Excuse me. And that color is 4 zeros and a 3 and a 3. Our font family is nothing. Our font style is italic. And our font size is small. Okay, now the reason we didn't define a font family is because we want the current font that is being applied to the entire page to be inherited. Okay, so we're not going to redefine that. But notice in the code, here is the embedded style. Opening style tag, closing style tag, and this is within the head section. So if I scroll down just a little bit, you will see that here's the close of the head tag. Okay, so again, I can only use this contact info class on this particular page. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply it. So I'm going to go ahead and use live view, and there we go. I'm going to click on the plus symbol, and I'm just going to start typing period, and then all of my classes come up. So I'm just going to select contact info from the list. So now the formatting has been applied, which was the font color, the font style, and the font size. Okay, and notice in the code it says P class equal contact info. Okay, that is your practice for lesson 1.